Hi guys, welcome. Dr. Andy Rosenfarb here. Today I want to talk to you guys about an important topic that is very, very relevant to your vision. We're going to talk about oxidative stress, free radical damage, and reactive oxygen species. Now, some of these terms may be not familiar to you. Maybe you have heard of them. Maybe you've just heard of them, you're not too familiar, or maybe you are very familiar with them. So I want to help clarify this because it's important. These are some important terms and concepts that I need you guys to understand so that when we do a deeper dive into talking about how to combat free radical damage and oxidative stress, you guys have a real good understanding of what we're trying to accomplish. So the first thing we want to talk about is this molecule called reactive oxygen species, all right, ROS. That's the short abbreviation for it. So reactive oxygen species are highly reactive molecules that contain oxygen atoms and are produced as the body's natural byproduct from normal cellular metabolism. Okay, they include molecules such as superoxide anion, hydrogen peroxide, hydroxyl radicals, and so on. Reactive oxygen species are formed in various cellular compartments, including the mitochondria, the peroxisomes, and the endoplasmic reticulum. These are all cell structures inside the cells. Reactive oxygen species play an important role in various physiological processes, okay? So including things like cell signaling, immune response, and balancing cellular homeostasis. They act as a secondary messenger in intercellular signaling pathways, regulating processes such as cell proliferation, okay, differentiation, and apoptosis, which is programmed cell death. In addition, the ROS, again, I'm going to use that abbreviation, ROS for reactive oxygen species, are involved in antimicrobial defense, right? Really, really important here for the immune system, as they can directly kill pathogens and activate the immune responses. They also kill cancer cells. So these ROS, let me stop and summarize that for a minute. What they do is they are basically our defense system. So they attack microbials, bacteria, fungus, and viruses that enter our body. They also kill they can kill cancer cells and destroy waste products. They help take the garbage out. They neutralize waste in the body and get rid of it. So it's kind of like an incinerator that way. However, when reactive oxygen species exceed the capacity and become hyperactive, they exceed their capacity of cellular antioxidant defense mechanisms. That means the balance of antioxidants can't keep the ROS in check. A state of oxidative stress occurs due to this free radical damage. So oxidative stress arises from an imbalance between the production of ROS, reactive oxygen species, and the cellular antioxidant defense system, all right, antioxidants. So excessive or hyperactive ROS, reactive oxygen species, can damage cells, tissues, and cell structures such as lipids, proteins, all the way down to the DNA. All right, leading to cellular dysfunction and contributing to the development of various diseases. In this case, eye diseases, neurodegenerative diseases, progressive vision loss, also things like cancer, cardiovascular disease, brain neurodegenerative disease, and accelerated aging. So, to counteract the harmful effects of reactive oxygen species, cells have evolved a defense system that includes enzymes such as superoxide dismutase, that's represented as SOD. A lot of you guys may have heard of that. Also, catalase and glutathione peroxidase, as well as non-enzyme molecules like vitamin C, E, and glutathione, and other phytochemicals. Or there are other antioxidants, and one particular that's extremely powerful that we're going to talk more about to help combat this ROS. So in short, what these antioxidants do is they help neutralize the hyperactivity and hyperabundance of these free radical reactive oxygen species in order to maintain what's called the redox balance. Re for reduction, ox is for oxidative stress. So it's this balance of reduction and oxidation to maintain a healthy system inside the cells. So that's what we are talking about when we talk about reactive oxygen species. They are free radicals, okay? Um, and basically, this is what we have to control. This is, you guys have heard me talk about this so many times. This oxidative stress is without question, if not the number one, in the top three that you guys have heard me talk about. Oxidative stress, inflammation, and circulation are always the biggest factors that can drive these conditions. And those, of course, can be propagated by other factors: toxicity, microbial infections, poor diet, environmental pollution, autoimmune processes, so on and so forth. So this oxidative stress is an effect of all this stuff going on in the body, and that will, without question, cause gene mutations, gene signaling, can get you pretty sick, and at the very least, dramatically accelerate things like progressive vision loss in cases like glaucoma, macular degeneration, retinitis pigmentosa, Stargardt's, Usher syndrome, eye strokes, glaucoma, cataracts, diabetic retinopathy, optic nerve atrophy, so on and so forth. So let's talk a little bit about specifically how oxidative stress can affect your vision, okay? Oxidative stress can contribute to vision loss through various mechanisms. Oxidative stress occurs when there's an imbalance of the production, again, of ROS, reactive oxygen species, and the body's ability to neutralize, as we said, through free radical activity. ROS are highly reactive molecules. I'm saying it again. They really beat up the cells. It's like gangs that go in and just destroy a city, all right? They're very, very destructive. And as we indicated earlier, in smaller levels and appropriate levels, when they're balanced and not overwhelming the system, they're useful for destroying microbes and killing cancer cells and cleaning up metabolic waste from the body. But too much, we're going to have problems. And here's how the oxidative stress can affect vision. Number one, can cause retinal damage, all right? Also optic nerve damage. Now, the retina, as we know, is the layer of tissue that lines the back of the eye that's responsible for detecting light and sending the signals to the brain for visual perception, right? That's what happens. Light signals come in, they hit the retina, they are turned from light signals to chemical potentials to electrical impulses that are sent via the optic nerve all the way to the visual cortex so we can interpret what we see. Oxidative stress can damage the retinal cells and optic nerve cells, including the photoreceptors, the rods, the cones, and the glial cells, the RPE, retinal pigment epithelium, and other supporting cells. This damage can impair vision and, if left untreated and unmanaged, potentially to conditions like, again, macular degeneration, retinal degeneration, optic nerve degeneration, so on and so forth. So that's the first thing, retinal and optic nerve damage. Okay, we know that oxidative stress is a huge player, and conventional biomedicine doesn't really address this. They don't talk too much about it, but they've known about it for years, right? Because you talk about like macular degeneration, there's always stop smoking, take vitamin A, C, E, the ARID study, watch your sun, protect your eyes from UV radiation. So all those factors cause accelerated reactive oxygen species, free radical damage, and ultimately oxidative stress, accelerated aging of your eyes, your retina, your optic nerve. So the second effect of reactive oxygen species and oxidative stress is, you guessed it, inflammation, right? Again, one of the top three things we're talking about that can accelerate progressive vision loss. So inflammation can be a major factor caused by oxidative stress, where oxidative stress can trigger an inflammatory response in the eyes. Again, the vascular components, the neurological, the nerve cells, the detox pathways, where chronic inflammation can damage the various components of the visual system, again, including the blood vessels, the optic nerve, the lens, the cornea, the sclera, the iris, all parts of the eye, the entire visual system. And we see diseases like this that are more related to optic nerve, inflammatory processes, uveitis, diabetic retinopathy, glaucoma, any of the itises, retinitis pigmentosa, often macular degeneration and glaucoma. And all of these can result in progressive vision loss. So that's the second one. The third way we know oxidative stress and free radical damage can affect vision is that there's DNA and protein damage, all right, where the reactive oxygen species directly damage the DNA and the proteins in the ocular tissue. The eye tissue, of course, is made up of proteins, amino acid peptides, which of course are the building blocks. And what happens is the free radicals break down structure, causing problems, and the DNA damage can interfere with normal cell function and contribute to the development of genetic eye issues, right? We're talking things about Stargardt's, Usher's, for sure retinitis pigmentosa, and even things like macular degeneration and glaucoma, which aren't usually and typically thought of as genetic conditions, even diabetic retinopathy, even eye strokes, guys, or idiopathic optic neuropathies, or even eye cancers. These are all can be initiated by genetic mutations caused by oxidative stress. So the protein damage can affect the structure and function of the proteins essential for maintaining healthy vision, such as those involved in light perception, lens transparency, and oxidative defense. Now, again, if this is affecting the DNA, it's a problem. Again, we're going to have gene mutations, and for sure that are going to affect the vision. So a lot of times I talk to patients, and we talk about how oxidative stress can be a factor, especially for some of you guys who are first generation with these genetic conditions, like maybe you're first gen with Usher's, or first generation with RP, or first generation with Stargardt's, and they tell you that this is a genetic disease, but nobody in your family has it. So what gives? What gives is there may be some genetic mutations brought on by reactive oxygen species, free radical damage, and subsequent oxidative stress. So again, there may have been these epigenetic factors that are specific to your system that could have caused these genetic mutations. All right, so that's a third factor. The fourth factor I want to talk about, and there are 5, so 2 more. Fourth is lipid peroxidation. All right, this is where the oxidative stress can lead to something called lipid peroxidation, which is the process of free radicals attacking and damaging the lipid layer, or the fats in the cell membranes. In the eyes, this can affect the integrity and fluidity of the cell membranes, disrupting normal cellular processes and leading to cellular dysfunction and death. So what happens is these fats turn rancid. That's really what I'm talking about. So even if you take things like fish oils, and you're taking coconut oil, which is very, very stable, olive oil, what happens is if you have this inflammation, this free radical damage, it causes your healthy fats in your body to oxidize, and they break down, and the fats become rancid, and these cell membranes become weak and susceptible to breakdown, damage, and death. So lipid peroxidation is a really, really big factor when it comes to oxidative stress and free radical damage. So the fifth and really important other factor that I want to talk to you guys about is how reactive oxygen species and free radicals hyperactivity can affect or cause mitochondrial dysfunction. All right, that's a newer conversation that is really active in naturopathic medicine and functional medicine. You guys may or may not be aware of that, so I want to clarify that for you. So mitochondrial dysfunction, let me back up and talk about the mitochondria first. So mitochondria are the powerhouse inside the cells that are the energy producing organelles within the cell, right? They produce ATP, energy, through oxygen. They need oxygen to produce this energy. And we have byproducts of oxygen, heat, and water is a result of that. So ATP in Chinese medicine we call qi. In Japan and Korea they call ki, which is the life force energy. These are the mitochondria are particularly susceptible to oxidative stress due to their high metabolic activity and the generation of reactive oxygen species as a byproduct. So yes, mitochondria, when they're functioning well, they will produce through its energy cycles, they will produce reactive oxygen species. That's a byproduct of the metabolic process of mitochondrial activity. So oxidative stress can impair mitochondrial dysfunction in the eyes and the whole visual system, leading to energy depletion, ATP reduction, or qi deficiency, we say in Chinese medicine. impaired cellular signaling, right? The signal, the transfer of nerve impulses through from the retina to the optic nerve to the visual cortex. So that clean line of transmission or signaling could be impaired, leading to vulnerability and damage of these cells and progressive breakdown. So to counteract oxidative stress, free radical damage caused by reactive oxygen species, and its detrimental effects on the visual system, maintaining a healthy lifestyle, including diet-rich antioxidants, is really important. As we know, antioxidants, which I've talked a lot about, can help neutralize reactive oxygen species and reduce oxidative damage. Regular eye checkups are, of course, very, very important to make sure and monitor the breakdown of your vision. We go get checked for glaucoma, we get checked for diabetes, we get checked to see if there's any macular degeneration building up. Cataracts, of course, is without question due to reactive oxidative species, and it's critical for preserving vision. So another thing I want to say, it's really important to know that our antioxidants, and I'm going to go deeper inside this conversation before we wrap up, is that the digestive system. All right, we've had a big conversation. I'm going to talk more about this next week, the role of the digestive system. The digestive system is critical in terms of supporting antioxidant activity. A lot of people aren't very aware of that. So next week, we're going to dive into that. We're going to talk about the microbiome, the digestive system, the gut microbiome, and healthy flora, and how and why that helps our immune system and helps protect against oxidative stress. Very, very important. So you may have heard that the gut microbiome, taking probiotics and gut health is really, really important for your overall immune system, right? It's a pretty common conversation. But why? Why is it important? What happens, right? Why? There are two main things we're going to talk about, but it's important to understand, not to say, yeah, well, I take probiotics and yada, yada, and I take these supplements to keep my gut healthy. Why? Why is it important? Because there's this gut-brain connection, right? Those of you guys who understand functional medicine or naturopathic medicine, even in Chinese medicine, right? We have this old text that's thousands of years old called the Pi Wei Lun, the treatise on spleen and stomach, that really gets into the critical importance of having a healthy digestive system and how it can impact the rest of the body, meaning a healthy gut microbiome is critical and why that's important. So we're going to talk more about that next week. So for today's lesson, to recap, we just wanted to talk about the importance, basically explain what reactive oxygen species is, which is a free radical, these molecules, how they wreak havoc on the body, how they are necessary and important, but when they become excessive, hyperactive, and overabundant in our body, they can be very, very destructive to the whole body, to the brain. Again, this is also why we have heart attacks. This is why we have degenerative neurological conditions like ALS, Parkinson's, dementia, Alzheimer's, stuff like that. So this is a huge piece of the puzzle, guys. This is this concept of really understanding and managing the oxidative stress is going to be really, really beneficial. So I want you guys to stay tuned and stay on top of this. Really, really important, because this is really going to help you guys out when it comes to implementing this one part of the vision recovery process to help manage, reduce the progressive vision loss, and help you recover and preserve your vision. So again, I am Dr. Andy Rosenfarb with AccuVision Acupuncture, where your vision is our mission. Thanks for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.